Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series, with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Michael has served as a leader for 17 years across 2 international corporations. He then embarked on a new chapter, and founded his own coaching company in 2007. He holds the Master Certified Coach accreditation from the ICF, which allows him to blend his corporate experience with his passion for coaching, fostering growth and leadership excellence in diverse settings. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mal, and today my special guest all the way from Copenhagen, Denmark, is none other than Michael Skjøt. Give him a big hand.
Hello, Mel.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you, and I have been very much looking forward to this.
Same here. Well, before we go anywhere, Michael, and I know today we'll be talking about you and your journey of coaching over 17 years, Would love to start by just saying, hey, tell us about who Michael is.
I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a coach. I think that's the main headlines.
And what are some of your passions, I guess?
I have a lot of passions. One passion is, of course, coaching. Yes. And I never thought that would be a passion at the level it has, where it is. But besides of that, I do a lot of reading. I love theater, I love music, I love walking in the forest, all kinds of things. Then I had 2 grandchildren, quite small still, but I really love being together with them. That's a totally new dimension to life.
Congratulations. I will not follow you on the last bit yet.
Okay, you are approaching? Or
Well, I'm perhaps in denial. I'm just going to say, hey, when it comes, and I know it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a blessing.
Yes.
But, I don't want to say I'm a grandfather yet. That's it. Anyway. So, Michael, I note that you were, before coaching, in the transportation, aviation side of the business world. Would you like to talk through your journey?
Yeah, where shall we start? If we go back in time, then I knew quite early that I would do something within aviation. I had an uncle who worked for an airline in Denmark at that time, and his job really fascinated me. I visited them quite often in the summertime, and he took me to his job, and I found it really fascinating. I don't think it was the technical side. It was this people from all over the world coming into Denmark. That was something around that fascinated me. So I thought that I think I actually knew at that time, I've only been, 10, 11, 12 years, that aviation would be some kind of part of my future life. I didn't know how it would be, but I knew that there was some kind of connection there. The first thing I decided to do that was to take a private pilot's license. Oh, wow. And that cost a lot of money compared to what I could afford. But I started working at the local theater as an extra. Yes. And I did that from the age of, I don't remember, 12 or 13, something like that. And I actually owed a lot of money. And I didn't use one penny. I actually saved it. And when I became 18, I was able to take a private pilot's license. And that's how it started. And then I knew that I should do piloting or air traffic control. I started actually doing both. If you apply for an air traffic controller at that time, part of that was that you would get a private pilot's license, and I already had that. But then a few years later, I saw an advertisement for an airline in Denmark owned by a shipping company called Maersk. You probably know that.
Yes, of course.
They were applying for people to the operational department. And I thought that was kind of a combination of both. And I had tried the piloting, and I didn't try that well. I think it was a lot of traveling. And air traffic controllers also found I actually worked as air traffic controller in Greenland for a year, and that was a big experience, but mainly being in Greenland for a year. So I decided applying for this job, and I got it. And it was in the operational department within the airline belonging to Maersk, and it was called Maersk Air. And I was in the operations department for a year or two, and I did traffic planning and traffic execution and crew planning. And then there was an opportunity to become, I think it was called the director for cabin crew department. And I applied that, and I have no background for doing it. I had not a leader experience, nothing. And I actually got the job. And that shifted my entire life, because I got a job. I didn't think I had the background to take it. But that was part of the deal, that I would have a lot of leadership training and stuff like that. Yeah, so this was how it all started.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that. And it just seems like you were so driven, if I can say that word, and focused, and since young, right? Working at 12, 13, that makes me feel really bad. I didn't work until probably 21.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
and you know, just earning your keep, getting your license, getting your first job, moving to this big organization, ops, and then working as head of the cabin crew, and being exposed, as you say, to so much of this leadership. And I'm not wanting to guess here, but is that how that leadership bit started, that whole working with people, understanding their motivation and all of that got you into liking of coaching?
That's right. And you could say, from this very operational thing with aviation and air traffic control and stuff like that, my focus shifted 100%. And I found out that this was really my passion and my calling in life. And I haven't dreamt of that. And I have never had an ambition in that direction. So it was suddenly it was there, and I was in the middle of it. So I got a lot of leadership training, and that was quite fascinating for me, getting this psychological dimension into my life. And then I had you could say I had the training setup was genius, because I could train in my daily life in relations to getting this organization to work. I took it over from, there has been somebody before me, and there was a lot of work to do to get it up to date. I have never been a leader before, and now I was a leader of leaders without having been a leader. So that was quite a shift, but I think it worked out. And later I found out that some of the things that I have done, that was actually to having some kind of coaching approach to my leadership without knowing what it was at that time. It was just what I found out that it works. So
I have a sense that at that point of time, there was this rush of excitement within you. Intuitively, I'm just feeling it. That there's this...
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And describe that for a bit. It was something fresh. Leadership was fresh as well. And this new encounter in your life, what did it do for you?
I think if I should describe it today, I would call it, there was an energy that I stepped into that I have never tried before. And I had a leader at that time. It was half a year since I started. He invited me into his office, saying that I needed to relax a little bit. So, and I think that was really describing where I was and how I felt, because I was so happy, and I really found my place in life. I knew that. So this leadership thing, and I attended all kinds of leadership courses that was available, getting a lot of insights, getting a lot of combined with a lot of experience. I could go out in my daily life and train these things. So that was really a fantastic setup.
And tell us what happened after that. After you experiencing all of this, how did that journey into coaching happen?
I climbed the corporate ladder, so to say, and ended up, I don't know how many years it took me, 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
As vice president for my own department. And that was both the cabin crew, but now it was also the in-flight service. So everything that happened on board our aircrafts, food and beverage, catering, cabin crew, interior design of the cabin, in the aircrafts, everything. And then when I was promoted vice president, I was on a course. It was 4 or 5 module course over half a year or something like that. And one afternoon in that course, there was something about coaching. And it turned out to be, I found out that many years later, that it actually was some of the people who worked for a company owned by, what was his name, Thomas Leonard, who was the founder of ICF. I had no idea about that and the connection until many years later. But I instantly knew that there was something with this coaching that was interesting. And some years later, I took my first coach certification. Yeah. It was very much life coaching. That was the focus here. Yeah. And a year later, I took something called an executive coach education. It wasn't that executive, but it was a coach education, a basic coach education, you would call it. Yeah. Also lasting approximately half a year. And that was where it all started. And now I have also shifted company. I shifted from Maersk to Scandinavian Airlines in 2000. After a couple of years in SAS, I knew that coaching, one way or another, should be my new life, or my new working life. I didn't know how to do that, so I was considering starting my own company. I bought a lot of leadership development at that time, and I always found it very expensive and not that fantastic. It was very much, no matter what you talked to the delivery company about, it was very often some kind of shelf product they had. Also when it was, they had promised that it would be customized. Yeah. So I thought that this is possible to do this much better. And then after 2 or 3 years more, I decided that I would make my own company within coaching. And I can actually name the date and time where I took the decision. It was a morning. I checked in at my office, and I had been considering this for 2 or 3 years, starting my own company, and we have been talking about it. I've been talking about it with my family. And then one morning, I had a meeting at 10 o'clock, and around a little bit before that, I knew that now it was the time to shift. So I phoned home saying, hey, I might resign today, quit my job and do this coaching thing. And okay. And I went to this meeting at 10 o'clock. And after that, I went back to my office, writing my resignation. Wow. And delivered it after lunch.
Such joy. And then brave as well, courage to be able to make up that decision and step out. I know through our years as a coach, we've seen many friends of ours, coaches. Some have taken a very short time to after finishing the certification, coming out, setting up their own, and wonderful, successful and everything. And then some have waited, right? Like me. I waited for 5 years. Okay. I wanted to continue with my day job. I loved my day job, right? I could apply all the coaching skill sets, and my leadership style changed as well along the way and all that. So I guess, Michael, my question back to you is, what made that shift, if you can describe it? Because you make it sound like it was just like, oh, so easy. One morning at 10 a.m. I just decided. But I kind of sense that there is a lot more in the underground of things, right? In the undercurrents of things. So would you like to share a little bit more about that?
And it was definitely not easy. Because I have been thinking about it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, perhaps a little bit more. at that time, and it was all the time, all kind of sorts. Some sorts was very practical, how do I do, and finding out how to register a company and stuff like that. But also on the deeper side, what is the calling in this, and why do I have this interest in doing that? And couldn't I do it within the corporate setup? And I actually tried to do it in the company I worked for, SAS, Scandinavian Airlines, at that time, and I don't think I ever succeeded explaining what it was that I would like to do. So they didn't understand it, or I wasn't able to explain it. I don't know. And it's in the beginning, and the beginning is not a month or a week. That was a year, perhaps more. It was very blurry. It was just I knew there was a calling somewhere out there, and I knew that I, in my leadership, had some experience and some background that was really relevant. But combining that was difficult. And I talked to different people, and now and then I got some more direction on what it was that I wanted to do. But I really struggled. Even my daughter, and she was around 10 years old, 10 years old at that time.
Okay.
And I talked it about something I don't remember exactly what it was. It was we had our dinner, and then she said something like, "Father, you're talking such a lot about this. Why don't you just do it?"
Wow.
Yeah. I said, if she have these thoughts around my future, why don't I just do it? So yeah, and that was really helpful. Quite crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
It reminds me about the simplisticness in a child's faith, right? And yes, let's go for it. Let's play. Right?
Yeah.
Let's just do it, right?
Yes.
And then as adults, we'll be like, oh, we've got to weigh all of the pros and cons. We've got to know when's the right time, and we've got to da and all that. But
yes.
But congratulations, Michael.
Actually, there's a little addition to this story, because already in 2003, I decided I would do it, and I actually had some dialogue with my leader and the HR department around how could it look like if I should terminate my contract. And we agreed that I did it without actually doing it. And then I was offered a new job. And instead of saying, no, thank you, I have made a decision around my future and it is coaching, I actually took the new job and had that for 2.5 or 3 years before I decided once more. Yeah. And I hear this story very often, that people kind of struggle with this. How do I do it? Yeah, because of course, it's a big risk. You have an income, all the financial side. Yes.
Yeah. This year will be 17 years in it already. Wow, what a journey. As you now have the benefit of hindsight looking back, what would you have said to the Michael stepping in those days? If you could go back and meet him, what would be some of the things that you would say to him?
Yeah, and that is something that I'm talking to my clients about almost on a daily basis.
Okay.
Why don't you just do it? What are you worried about? All these kind of things. Yeah. So you said something about courage in your first question, and it ended up perhaps being courageous, but I don't think it was to a start, because I was really keen to make sure that I took the right decision.
Of course. And tell us, as you walk that journey without the backing of large organization anymore, stepping out into the boots of being an entrepreneur, how was the early days for you?
Yeah, when I started, what I focused on in the beginning, that was to get some really good coaching education. I had already had 2 coaching educations.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of research. I had meetings with, I don't remember, in 8-10 large organizations in Denmark about how did they choose a coach? What was important for them in relations to the coach's background and stuff like that. And I think I had, I don't know, around 10 meetings. And the persons I talked to, if they had some kind of knowledge around coaching, they always mentioned ICF. And that was my first clue, ICF. And I started investigating what is ICF, and found out about certification and accreditation of schools and stuff like that, and talked to some coaches in Denmark at that time. There wasn't that many. There was actually a very few. And two of them, they mentioned CTI. And I found the contact information for CTI and phoned them. And they started a program, a cohort the next day. And I was unable to participate in that because it was in London.
Okay.
And then I found a Danish ICF accredited school instead. So this was really my start into coaching. And then there was all the practical stuff, you know, getting your VAT number and company registration and all this, all kind of things. And the big difference compared to working in a large organization is, of course, you are all departments yourself. If the computer doesn't work, you can't phone anybody, or if you are in charge of everything.
Yeah. Of course.
That's really the big shift. But I knew that I had a calling for this. There was something special around coaching that was not just the competence, but there was more to it than that. It was much deeper.
You've said the word calling a few times now.
Yeah.
I am tempted to ask you to kind of just share a little bit, kind of expand what you mean by when you say calling.
Yeah. I knew there was something larger in it than just the job function. And I think it's very much related to this assisting people. One of the focuses I had when I was a leader myself, that was, what is the next level here? And that was both my next level, but it was also the next level for the organization. And how do we as an entity live together with the world around us, you could say. And I knew that this coaching had much more to it than just coaching, just the competence. This assisting people in their development, in their whatever situation they were in, that was something that resonated deeply within me. Yeah.
I hear you. So it starts from something inside you, something that is greater than just what we could create on our own.
Yeah.
And it's got to do with some connection with the outside world as well, as we go through this inward discovery of ourselves. It comes out in the most beautiful way as an expression of the who you are and what you can bring as a gift into the world.
Yes.
And with that, Michael, if I could ask you, what is your essence as a coach that you bring into the world?
I think coaching is so fantastic, also as a leadership skill, but also as a competence in itself, because it's the foundation, the basics for this is that you really trust the other person, or you trust the team, or whatever it is.
It's true.
And this operating from that platform creates a lot of fantastic things, sometimes without me doing that much than just being there.
So, Michael, I hear you being involved with the ICF. You did mention how important it is to be a part of this community. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, when I started in 2007, ICF in my part of the world was, I think it was called ICF Nordic. And that was ICF in Denmark, ICF in Norway, and ICF in Sweden. They had not merged, but they had started up together because we are quite small countries, all three of us. And in 2006, it was decided to split up ICF Nordic into 3 ICF chapters in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And I was actually at the, what we call it, the founding meeting in Denmark, and that was in autumn of 2007. And it was quite small at that time. I think, I don't remember how many members there was, but I knew, and that was actually parallel to the time where I was starting up my own company. So I knew that at some time later, I would be part of this one way or another. And I already signed up as a member at that meeting in 2007. And then I don't remember the exact year, but it has been 2010, I guess. They asked for members to sign up as candidates for the board. And I did that. And I thought, it's not possible that I'll be elected. But I was elected, and I think the story was that there was not that many that ran for the positions, so everybody was elected. And I became a member of the board, and I was there for a year, and then the next year I became president for ICF in Denmark, and that has been 2010 or 11, something like that. And that was really interesting because at that time in Denmark, there was a lot of fighting between psychologists, therapeutic people, all kinds of niches would like to claim that they had the right background for doing coaching. So it was very much just communicating what was coaching. And it was very difficult to get the story through to anybody. We tried doing some newspaper interviews and stuff like that, but it was really difficult. And all organizations that tried to tell the story about that, they were fantastic, and the other ones, But so I invited them to a meeting. There was, the psychologists in Denmark and organizations like that, and we actually had a very, very fantastic meeting. That was in 2010 or 11. And we agreed that we actually had the same interest in telling the story about this. And some people choose a psychologist and some people choose a coach. And that's because the stories around them are different, and they have different needs. So it became quite positive. I won't say that it ended this discussion, but it supported coaching in Denmark at that time, that we actually agreed on not trying to harm each other, but trying to tell the same story. Yeah, so that was really that was something very positive at that time. And then I have got my own in 2007 my ACC accreditation. So I also worked towards my PCC. Yeah, so a lot of things happen in relations to ICF. ICF changed their membership, becoming a member rules in, I don't remember when it was. They got much more restrictive. Earlier you could just sign up and be a member. Now you need to have decided that you really want to take a coach education and get certified. Yeah. So we lost a lot of members at that time, and that was fine because it was the right members that was left when we after that exercise.
Yeah, and I noticed that, if I got it correctly on your profile, that recently you were president again.
Yeah, and I after my 3 years term as and 1 year president in the beginning of 2010, 11, 12, something like that, I became chair of the ethics committee in Denmark for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And then I decided now I will stop doing this ICF work. Not that I didn't like it, but it took a lot of time.
Yeah, of course.
I needed to take care of my business. But then in 2020 or something like that, there were nobody running for the president function. So I said, okay, then I'll do it. And then I thought I would stay there for 2 years, but now it was a 4-year term with incoming president, 2 years president, and then a past president.
Past president, yeah.
So I've just ended my past president period here, 1st of January. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure as much as people have gained from your leadership, you have also taken away lots of insights being part of the ICF from the inside. And if anyone here listening is a coach and is thinking of being a part of the ICF, running for office or being part of the board, what would you say to them?
I would say, just do it. It's such a rich experience, and you get such a fantastic network, both within the coaching community in the country you live in, but also outside of Denmark, and also in relations to ICF Global. I think ICF Global really has developed in a positive way in the years I've been part of ICF. There are always all these kind of, stories around whatever, but I really think they do a fantastic job, and they put ICF on the chart together with all the other ones. And I also think all that has happened the last 2 or 3 years in relations to shaping the accreditation rules and stuff like that is really positive. But in relations to people thinking about getting a relationship to a coaching body, I would really recommend ICF. And there are many other good ones, sure. It has helped me a lot in relations to a lot of different things. It has been a very positive experience.
Thank you. Same. It has been for me as well. I actually joined the ICF in 2007 as well. It's funny, isn't it?
So we have the same. Yes.
Same time. And that was when I was in Melbourne, and I still am. And it was amazing. So Michael, congratulations on your MCC. Tell us about that journey.
It started many years ago, actually, to be quite honest. And in the beginning, I was trying to find out what is it exactly that I shall master to become an MCC. And I talked to a few MCCs, and I tried to read on the description on the ICF webpage. And it never became clear to me that this is what you're expected to do. So I kind of said, okay, then I will look at it later. That might be a possibility. And I kind of thought that it was out of my league ever to become an MCC. And then I had around, 5,000, 6,000 hours. I have 6,000 hours plus now. And I thought, it might be possible that I could do something. And I started just before COVID. And the first thing was to find a mentor coach. And that was still really difficult for me. But I found one, and that helped me really a lot. And then you need to do your recordings and all this kind of practical stuff. And I found all the excuses I could find. It's very difficult to find a coachee who is able to have this level of self-reflection or whatever story you could tell yourself. But then something very important happened in my life, and it was my grandson. He was 2.5 years at that time, and it was in November a year ago. He became seriously ill and was diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh wow!
And he's healthy now, so everything has turned out fine. But I visited him within the first week or second week at the hospital, and I was together with his mother. And she was considering if she should take time out from her job or apply for taking some time off to be together with her son at the hospital. And then we talked about if she should quit her job, and she said, of course, that's a possibility, because what might happen is that he isn't here in a month or two. And I intellectually knew that could happen, but I have never connected to it. So I took it in, and when I should drive back from the hospital, I sat in my car for half an hour and was crying, and really felt this, everything could happen. And I don't know where it came from, but one of the things I thought was that now I actually need to do my MCC. And I can't find the connection, but it came to me, and I decided before I came home that night that within a month I would have made the recordings and sent them into ICF and done all the things that I should do in relation to that. And I did that. Found 2 coaches, made 3 recordings. My mentor coach listened to one of them, and she said, "Well, a good day will pass, but you should do many more." So I did 2 more, and I didn't send them to her. I just sent one of them, the best one, in, and got a message back from ICF 3 months later that I had passed on both of them. So that really started the MCC process again. And to everybody considering MCC, I would say just do it. You are really out. If I take my own story, I was really out of my comfort zone. But that was kind of where the magic happened.
Certainly does.
And it has really, I think it has, I stepped into a new space in my coaching life, where I feel much more confident, much more aligned with what it is that I'm doing. It has really helped me a lot. So I can really recommend it. Just do it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Michael, 17 years has come and gone. What could be some learnings or insights that you have gained through the years? I know it's perhaps not really fair to kind of scale it down to X number of key insights, but yeah.
I think one of my most important key insights with the background I have is that if you're considering being a coach, you really have a fantastic background that you actually can use in relation to your coaching. I also experienced it when I, as a board member, visited all the schools in Denmark. They're quite different, and they're working in quite different niches. And the diversity within this group of coaches, I think that's fantastic. So whatever background you have relates to a niche in coaching. I have a leadership background, and of course, the relevant niche is doing leadership coaching. But if you have a background within the health sector or within another sector, it's very usable in coaching. And that's what I actually experience these days. I work part-time for one of the schools in Denmark as a trainer. And if I look back 5 years or something like that, we see people with different backgrounds actually thinking of becoming coaches not now, but at a later stage in their life. So I think this about having different job functions in your life that can really relate to coaching, and many people, that's what I experience now. They start in a completely different business, and then they can use this background later for coaching. And I also think that what's happening now is that the demand for coaching is rising. And I think that in the future that it'll be much more common in organizations that you have internal coaches, where you can lean on the background you have.
Totally.
Yeah. So to answer your question around key insights, that is that you can really use your own background in relations to stepping into coaching.
Wonderful. I sometimes hear this when people step into coaching, Michael. They say, "Do I have what it takes to be a coach?" I'm sure you've had this question before.
Yes.
And I have my way of answering. I would love to hear yours. What would that be? What would you say to someone who is inquiring, right?
I'm asked that question quite a lot, and I always try to find out what's the background. What is it that they really aim for, or where do they see themselves in relation to coaching as a competence in a new setting? Yeah, so I think if you have this ambition, if you have this calling or whatever it is, just go for it. And a good place to start is always to take a coach education and being certified. And you can do that in the setting you are in today, in your present job or whatever, and then find out gradually if it's this coaching that that should be your new future.
We are in the year 2024 now, Michael. Things have changed quite a bit from the time we started in the early 2000s. What would you see as the things to look out for in the near future?
Yeah, the future of coaching. There's a lot of discussion about AI and how will that influence coaching in the future. And I'm sure that it's AI are here to stay. And there are lots of ways you can use AI in relations to coaching. I think it's part of perhaps democratization of coaching.
Yeah.
And then there, of course, are people who has a demand for a much more deeper coaching. And of course, they can find a real life coach. So I don't think AI as a problem in relations to coaching. I think it will add something new, and there will be a lot of possibilities within that as well. Also for coaches. That's one thing. And the other thing is that I think organizations in general in the future, things are so complex and things are shifting all the time, meaning that there will be a great demand for coaching. I think in the early days when I was a leader, it was you made a strategy for 3 years or 5 years, but that's completely dead. Now many companies don't do strategies; they do plans for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. And at that time, in the good old days, it was that was a strategy. But today, this is a strategy and then something else. So it's not something very factual, and that's what we go for, because there's always another side of it. I'm very inspired by Michael Skjøt and his new book, Leader as Healer. And it is really this, that you need to connect to something deeper within you and to feel things. And that in the future also will be part of the leader's role. Actually have this dialogue with his leaders or her leaders and employees.
It's bringing back the importance of the whole person and the uniqueness, this body of differences.
Yeah.
And just being able to celebrate all of this together in the workplace we are today. Very different from the yesteryears, but yet this is the environment we're in today.
Yeah.
The shifts are happening at a different speed.
Yes, and a very high speed.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Michael, it's been a beautiful conversation. I sincerely thank you for your thoughts and how you just openly shared your journey with us. Is there any last thoughts that you have that you would like to share today?
I was at an ICF meeting. They introduced a new, it wasn't a mission or a vision statement, but it was, we empower the world through coaching.
Wow.
And I really like that. And I think that's a fantastic headline for the years to come with coaching and everything what's happened in the world these days.
That's beautiful. It is a wish, I guess, and it's also a desire, I think, within each one of us. As you sit in Denmark, I in Australia, I resonate with what you just said. It's the empowering of humanity.
Yes.
We can come together.
Yeah.
So good. Well, Michael, thank you so much once again for being on the show.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It has been a great pleasure.
This is the 100 Master Coaches show today with Michael and myself, Mel. Wherever you are, stay safe. Have a fantastic year ahead. And till the next time we catch you, take care. God bless. Bye for now.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.